Hey everybody, this is Tom Richardson. Uh, for today's video, I really want to talk about the book The Hunger Games. I finally got around to reading it recently. I saw the movie a couple months back, so I kind of went into this story or already know what was going to happen. Um, if you can barely hear me, I apologize. That's my dehumidifier over there. Um, but anyway, guys, I'll actually turn full volume here. So The Hunger Games, I was pretty happy with this. Suzanne Collins, like I said, I recognized her work from the film because she was one of the screenplay writers. Um, so I guess as far as what I liked and what I didn't like, I guess it kind of all depended on how different or how similar or how unique it was compared to the movie in a way. Because keep in mind, I saw the movie before reading this book, so I went into this thing kind of. Like I said, already knowing what was going to happen and everything. But anyway, well, actually, here I'll start off with this. So the synopsis of the story, you guys. In the future, there's something called the Hunger Games. It's where the capital, which is kind of the U.S. government kind of thing, they have to. So the U.S. is pretty much divided into 12 districts, and each district does something different. So like one works on coal, one works on food, one works in like the big factories, and like I guess the bigger the number you are, the lower class you are, based on what I remember. So like if you're in District 1, you're in wealthy families, you're rich, you're all that stuff. And if you're in District 12, you're really low on the totem pole. You work with coal. You don't get to eat a lot, that kind of thing. But anyway, each district has to give someone 12 and 18. I think it's the ages between 12 and 18 where they got to sacrifice a boy and a girl from each district, and they participate in this tournament, and they fight to the death, and this tournament keeps going until there's just one victor in the arena. So take 12 times 2, and you have 24 people. One of them walks away from this tournament alive. And throughout this book, you're seeing the first-person view of a character named Katniss Everdeen. She's the lead character of the story. She lives in District 12, so she's in the very bottom of the totem pole as far as society goes. And so what's kind of unique is in the first, and I guess this is my positive here for my positives and negatives, I kind of liked that the story was told in first person. You get, Katniss's perspective. You get to see her, whether she likes something or hates something. It's a little bit more specific in the book because it's from her perspective. So I guess in that way the book is it's slightly better because you simply know more of what Katniss's feelings are towards things. And in the movie, because it was told in third person, told from everybody's perspective, and you're just kind of watching in on it, you're not given as many opportunities to get to know what Katniss is feeling about something. So I guess that's what was kind of unique about this book. Is you get to see her perspective on this whole tournament, whether she lives or dies. You get to see her whole experience with the Hunger Games throughout this book. So like I said, guys, the positives, I kind of liked how it told in first person. It kind of gave the reader more opportunities to get to know Katniss better. Another positive I have about this book, you guys, is it gets into depth about certain weapons and historical facts. And what I mean by that, for weapons anyways, is there was something called tracker jackers. And they slightly explain it in the movie, but in a different way. In the book, they explain, that they were used for the war back before the Hunger Games started. And that they used them to keep people away from certain things. And I really liked how they explained the tracker jackers. They got into more detail. Katniss seemed to know a lot about them, so that's why I think the book got into more detail about it. And like as far as just like the war that happened, that kind of started the Hunger Games, they get into more detail about the war and everything. Also, I thought the story in this book really flowed very well. I thought the suspense and actions was done very well, especially for a book. Because usually when you read a book, it's like, oh, this person punched this person, someone shot an arrow at this person, someone shot a gun at this person. And in this book, they really get into detail of what was going on, so you really know what Katniss was feeling, what she was doing during certain scenes. How she felt, if she was bleeding, if she was scratched, if she was, bruising. It really gets into detail with this book. Talks more about the sponsors and like how how expensive it gets over time as the Hunger Games goes on, and how it's more expensive for someone to send you something as a sponsor within the Hunger Games. In the movie, they just kind of happened. You know, if they got a sponsor and got something great. In the book, it's more of a big deal, at least what I felt anyway. Um, and they, like I said, they get more detail about like why people sponsor, how you get sponsors. They, like I said, they somewhat explain it in the movie, but if you read the book, you're gonna really understand the sponsors more. And like I said, it costs more over time, and I don't even think they explain that at all in the movie. Um, as far as the negatives, actually, this is more of a. It's something I was kind of about, kind of iffy. Um, was Katniss's and Peeta's relationship. In the movie, I remember them as kind of, they hated each other, couldn't be in the same room with each other in the movie, and it wasn't until the end of the book where they really started to fall in love with each other, had feelings for each other. Um, and in the book, it really feels like they didn't have a lot of problems with each other. And I don't know where to say the film didn't do a good job, or maybe the book just doesn't make them as interesting. So I guess the Katniss and Peeta relationship to me was a little iffy, simply because I don't know whether they like each other, hate each other, fell in love with each other. Well, obviously they fell in love with each other at the end, but like as far as the scenes before that took place, I just really don't know what this author Suzanne Collins wanted me to feel about them. Do they hate each other, like each other? Are they acquaintances? Are they friends? Are they somewhat friends, but not really? I think they could have done more explanation of that throughout the book. And I guess because it's told in first person, we really don't get to know a lot about both perspectives. So I guess that is one advantage of having the movie told in third person. Um, Also, if you've seen the movie, they actually show scenes in between the Hunger Games scenes, like the actual tournaments, where you get to see President Snow's perspective on certain things. And I thought that was really interesting. And unfortunately, you never get to see that in the book. You only get to see the scenes with President Snow where Katniss is seeing him. So unfortunately, the President Snow character I felt was more developed in the movie. So if you thought you could hear more explanation about him, unfortunately, they really don't get into detail about it in the book. Um, I also thought the book set up for catching fire too much, and when I saw the movie, I actually asked myself, how in the world are they going to do a sequel? And when I was reading the end, it's like, oh, okay, now I know what they're going to do for a sequel. Um, so I guess in somewhat ways, the movie could stand on its own, and I guess the book, because it sets up so much, it really can't stand on its own very well. So that's one negative of the book compared to the movie. I also thought one problem specifically with the book. Um, I felt it dawdled along at times, and what I mean by that is there's some scenes in here where Katniss and Peeta team up during the Hunger Games, and they're in a cave together. They try to hide away from the other, people who are part of the tournament, and there was just some scenes in there that really dawdled along, and it really didn't get anywhere. It was one of those things where as soon as you figure out what was actually happening in the cave, what they're actually doing and everything, it's like, well, you could have just told me that and saved me the trouble of saying, well, Katniss walked over here. Then she did this. Then they did this. Then Peeta did this. Peeta was hurting. Katniss had to do this. Peeta had to do this. And it's just like, well, okay, you could have wrapped that all up in like a paragraph if you wanted to, but I guess they had to do 8 or 9 paragraphs instead. So, but overall, guys, Hunger Games, the book, I'm going to have to give it an 8.5 out of 10. I really liked it. I got to tell you the truth, though, and some people are going to be shocked. I kind of like the movie a little bit better. Like I said, I just think the President Snow scenes just felt necessary for the story. I just liked how, even though it was cool, we get to learn more about Katniss in the book. I just think it's cool that we got to learn more about the other characters, kind of their perspective on things in the movie more. But I guess as far as if you're looking for explanation, you want to know more about the Capitol and what else do they call it? I think they call it Prime or something like that. No, actually, Prim is the sister's name, I think. But anyway, Panem, yeah, that's what it was called. Like if you want to learn more about Panem and the Hunger Games and the Capitol, I guess the book does a little bit better with that. But anyway, guys, like I said, 8.5 out of 10 for me. I did enjoy this book, but if I had to say which one I like better, the movie or the book, I'm going to have to go with the movie for now.